Hello, my name is Lewis Hicks. I'm the Director of Grants and Special Projects for HumanitiesDC, and this is a webinar for Soul of the City. I'd like to first start off by explaining who we are. We are a private nonprofit organization. Funding for our organization provides funding for all 8 wards of Washington, D.C. We are not a federal or district agency, but an affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. The mission of Humanities DC is to enrich the quality of life, foster intellectual stimulation, promote cross-cultural understanding, and promote appreciation of local history in all neighborhoods of the district through humanities programs and grants. We believe that in-depth consideration of the issues that affect us as individuals in our society can make a positive impact on our lives, and we believe each citizen can participate in our vision to transform lives through the power of the humanities. Now, oftentimes people don't necessarily understand what the humanities are. For this reason, I offer a simple explanation and say that the humanities tell us what it means to be human. The humanities comprise a set of disciplines, and those disciplines help us seek to understand our human expression. They do so by exploring the ways humans have expressed their relationships to one another and the world around them. Academic and public humanists can establish a sense of community and collective responsibility, encourage critical thinking and lifelong learning, and create new opportunities for conversation and dialogue. They do this through our disciplines by helping us understand our story's past using history, anthropology, archaeology, our expressions through literature, linguistics, languages, art history, theory and criticism, and the values that we hold through ethics, philosophy, comparative religion, and law. Now, our Soul of the City program is a youth-focused grant opportunity with a maximum funding level of $50,000. The program will award 2 to 3 organizations that use the humanities disciplines in their curriculum that they develop for their program. Each funded project will be expected to produce an original curriculum written in accordance with best practices in the education field. These curricula will be public domain documents and will be available to the public via our online resource, the DC Digital Museum. The program that you should design should introduce young Washingtonians between the ages of 14 to 19 to the city's local, national, and international dimensions using the lens of humanities. You should use humanities ideas, disciplines, and concepts to help youth understand themselves and the human experience. You should provide tools to encourage young people to improve themselves and the world in which they live. They should gain practical and transferable skills from the program that you develop for them through the Soul of the City program. It should encourage the development of career-building media skills and instill leadership and civic engagement lessons as part of your curricula. The deadline for submitting your grant application is March 1st, the first Friday in March at 11:59 p.m. The grant period will last longer than our normal period. It will span from April 2019 through September 2020. Any incomplete or late applications will not be accepted nor considered. Your application narrative should include a very succinct explanation of how the students will use the humanities themes to better understand themselves and the human experience, incorporate specific humanities disciplines where appropriate. It could be any combination, one or any combination of history, anthropology, archaeology, literature, language, linguistics, art history, criticism, philosophy, ethics, comparative religion, jurisprudence, or religion, any or all, or any aspect of any one of these disciplines, but not necessarily just limited to those. Your application narrative should also tell us how your program will help its students understand Washington, D.C. from the local, national, and international perspective. Your program description should provide a detailed description of specific activities and projects the students will participate in as part of your program. And you should have a minimum of 20 students, but you can also go over that threshold. Your application narrative should list the communication and critical thinking skills the students will learn as part of the program and describe how those skills will encourage self-improvement, civic engagement, and the technical expertise. Also, the critical element is the final product. The students of each Soul of the City grant project must produce a tangible product. You're to describe the final product to be produced by the students participating in your project. These are some of the things you should consider when you're developing your project. Is your organization or its sponsor a 501c3 nonprofit? Is your project humanities-based? Is your project a benefit to the people of the District of Columbia? Are previous HumanitiesDC grants held by you or any other sponsoring organization, have they been closed out satisfactorily? And will your program fall within the terms of the grant cycle? These are the kind of roles and personnel that should be added as a minimum for your project. You can have more people on your project filling various roles. I just warn you that your sponsoring organization will be one area and your bookkeeper will be two of the only ones that specify one individual. Your sponsoring organization will be the person listed in the beginning as you fill out the profile for your grant application. It should be the president or the equivalent of the nonprofit organization. You will have a project director, and that's the person who will guide the daily operations of the project. You should have a humanities scholar, and that person guides the scholarly research of your project. I also forewarn people to always engage your scholar at the very beginning and not at the end prior to you submitting your proposal. The key element for that is that your scholar will help you develop the tools to evaluate the effectiveness of your project. So they may have instruments that help you define this as a humanities program, but also your evaluation tool to justify that you were successful in completing the work as you set out to do through your project. Now, the bookkeeper is the fourth element or the fourth staff person on your grant project, and that person will track the grant funds expended for the project, but they cannot hold any other role in the project. Only the project director or i.e. the project director or the sponsoring official for your organization. Now, specifics about the scholar. All humanities funded projects must include a scholar, and the scholar should be someone keyed into the discipline and topic of your program. They don't necessarily have to be a PhD, but they must be an expert in the field that you're pursuing or honing in for the subject area for your Soul of the City project. Your humanities scholar will participate in filling out the evaluation portion at the final reporting stage. And this person should also work in the capacity of advising the scholarly foundations and methodologies of your project. There are various ways that your project can take shape, and it can do so by having a book discussion, a conference, curriculum development, a podcast, discussion guide, exhibit, film discussions, film or video production, oral histories, panel discussion, a radio production, or a book publishing, site interpretation, mobile application, workshop, website development, content, or other means of developing a format. These are just a few suggested, but they're not the exhaustive list of how you may shape your Soul of the City program. These are the kinds of things that we fund with the grant funds for your Soul of the City project. We provide funding for project supplies, space rental for your project, honoraria, transportation that could be Uber cost, or it could be Metro cards, whichever, or a rental of van or bus or whatever is appropriate for your transportation needs. You can also purchase equipment. In this particular slide, it's also, in the past, people have rented equipment, but in these times, because the cost of equipment has gone down so low, you're able to actually purchase AV equipment. Also, we will pay for project publicity and promotion, but we will not pay for general office supplies that last beyond the life of this project, rent, overhead, or restoration of your facilities space or your organization's home, refreshments, hospitality, or parties are not things that we fund. Creative performing arts projects, those are better applied to through the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities, but not to HumanitiesDC. We will not fund membership or membership outreach for your organization. Excuse me. This is the general ledger that you log in the kind of things that you're going to request from HumanitiesDC. Each one of your requests, you don't have to line by line match up the things that you're going to share, but you have to come up with a bottom line that equals the amount of the funds that you're requesting from HumanitiesDC. So if you're requesting $50,000, which is the maximum you can request for your project, you must come up with cash that you bring to the project in any of these categories, or in-kind cost that you determine will equal in these two columns to $50,000. We also ask that you list the amount of money that you're going to bring, as well as other sources, and then the names of the organizations that you will secure these funds from. After you've completed those details and lump sum categories, you must explain how you arrived with those numbers, and that is done through your budget narrative. The budget narrative is a breakout of the items listed in the budget sheet for the funds you request. For example, if you're going to determine that you're going to have a total amount of $2,000, you have 2 personnel that you're going to add to your project, and those people, you're estimating a project director will contribute 20 hours at a rate of $50 per hour, and will equal $1,000. A videographer will contribute 40 hours at $25 an hour, and for equaling $1,000. Average salaries that you can use can be found at the Department of Labor's using this website. And also remember, again, coming up with a cost match. I have been able to paste in the landing page for this website that I just mentioned, and you will find it at www.dol.gov, the Department of Labor, and you would go to the one of the menus under DOL wage and hour website, and that will take you to this page. And this page is where you can query and find official rates for any kind of category or any personnel that you're considering using. In order to submit your application, you go to our website, and this website will take you to a landing page. Under our website, you click on grants, and then it has a drop-down menu, apply for grants, and it takes you to this landing page. First thing you'll do is log in by filling in your email address, your password, and if you think that you have or someone from your organization has applied in the past, we ask that you call me or email me so that we can make sure that no one has call me in order to make sure that you don't duplicate an organizational profile. If it's on record, we can link you up with that, and we can provide you with the temporary password that you'll change, and then you will be able to just add that information in, and we'll specify you. If you're applying as a fiscal sponsor, you believe someone else has that, then again, call me up. I could look it up quickly, and we can link you with that. Always remember, you have to be a 501c3 nonprofit organization to apply. The only exception is the DC Community Heritage Project. If you have any other questions, you can check on our website for eligibility requirements or call me. One of the first things that you'll fill out on your online application will be the project name, project description, the amount you're requesting. And this screen view has been taken from a past grant and may not necessarily always represent what the current page will look like once you go on. But it is from past years always been pretty consistent, with only the dates changing according to the submission and other relevant dates that change from year to year. Excuse me. We're also going to ask you for the humanities discipline, the location, and the word served. Your online grant application, the fields should be filled out from the perspective of the 501c3 nonprofit organization. This becomes a little confusing when organizations are using a fiscal sponsor for their nonprofit to receive the funds, but they also begin to fill out all the other information according to their profile as an entity. You have to fill in the identifying information for the sponsoring organization according to the organization that holds the 501c3. So anything referring to the organization, please fill it out according to that. This organization's name will appear on the check as the fiscal agent organization and distribute the funds on behalf of the partner organization conducting the day-to-day business. There will be an opportunity for you to describe the relationship between the organization that sponsors or serves as a fiscal agent and the organization that is carrying out the day-to-day operations as project director. The first thing you're going to do is fill out the narrative and the program narrative, the key personnel, the program description, and your final product that you'll produce. You'll have an opportunity to fill in the timeline, specifically how you're going to achieve your Soul of the City program, the number of participants you expect to serve with the project, the number of youth participating, the artists, the scholars, the number of schools, and whether or not you're going to have a showcase or any kind of demonstrations, cultural opportunities provided for the public. You're also asked to describe your humanities scholar and how they'll help you shape your project. And this particular section, this allows you to describe the relationship of the project manager to the fiscal sponsor as a sponsoring organization. Also, you're asked to describe your marketing strategy, how you're going to evaluate your project, and how the program's design will help residents understand our mission, which is to transform lives through the humanities. We also have outside reviewers serving to evaluate the effectiveness or which particular grants are recommended for funding. So our Soul of the City projects are evaluated by a panel of evaluators. Those evaluators basically have a series of questions that are uniform that our panel uses to evaluate your particular grant. They're doing this in isolation, and then they eventually come together and caucus about their scores, so that they have to provide a narrative description answering the things that are asked of each one of the questions as they move through their evaluation rubric. One of the things that they're asked to do is to evaluate your overall Soul of the City goals and then give you a score from 1 to 10. Look at the humanities content, the proposed project use of one or more humanities disciplines to help youth understand themselves and the human experience. Also, you're asked to evaluate how it provides students an idea of what their city looks like as a local, national, or international entity. Again, scoring from 1 to 10. What kind of skills development will help the students gain effective leadership skills, how they'll communicate, and what kind of technical expertise will be used in their final product. We're also looking at the project management to understand if the staff has the knowledge, experience, and expertise to effectively carry out the project. Again, looking at the scholar to understand the scholars, whether or not they have the content and the capabilities to participate and execute the project. Also, we're going to look at your final product and find out whether or not it primarily by the participating students will demonstrate the skills and the knowledge they gain during the course, and the final product, whether or not it's tangible and accessible to the general public. Looking at your budget sheet, they will assess whether or not it's clearly defined and adequate for the program. These are some of the things that I suggest that you always look at. Break out your items listed on your budget sheet and your budget narrative. State clearly your project goals and how you're going to achieve them. State clearly how they will benefit the people of the District of Columbia. Do try to anticipate the answers that or the questions that the reviewers will ask, because they will look at your application and they'll only have the information that you present there. One of the things that I always recommend to people is to have a friend read your application so that they understand exactly what you're trying to say. If they have questions, these are going to be questions that either I will ask you or the evaluator will be stumped as they're trying to work their way through your proposal. You can include letters from partner organizations, but in doing so, make sure that these letters of support from organizations or individuals look at specific things that will be the things that will be described in the proposal you're sending forward to HumanitiesDC. Once you receive a notification that you will receive funding, you will be asked to sign grant conditions, and this is a legally binding document, and the organization becomes liable and responsible for all aspects of the grant. The success or failure is borne by that organization. You must commit to spending every dollar of the grant, and all projects funded by this grant will carry the Soul of the City title and include HumanitiesDC and Soul of the City logos. In the unfortunate event that you can't complete your project, you must return the full amount of money back to HumanitiesDC. This is one thing that's been added for this past year, and it provides free promotional opportunity and additional marketing funds for you via Cultural Capital, which is one of our entities under HumanitiesDC. Culturalcapital.com was launched in 2008, and it promotes, engages, and informs the public about performing arts, visual arts, education, lectures, and literary events occurring throughout the metro area. It's not just a humanities site, but it's a broad range of arts and cultural activities throughout the metro area. Last year, over 2.3 million page views were recorded by culturalcapital.com, and today nearly 250 arts presenters of all sizes and disciplines submit their calendar listings for programs, events, and exhibitions that happen throughout the year. And more than 50,000 opt-in subscribers are part of the email newsletter list that is distributed to the subscribers in the metro area and beyond. These are the things that the grantees will receive. You'll be eligible to receive a basic package from culturalcapital.com for the 12 months or the span of your grant term. And this is the equivalent of $300 of an annual plan that individuals can participate in. You can also mention your events through a link and choose the corresponding categories. It will also include an ID to submit ticketed or free events to the site, to include the name, date, venue, description, links in box office, and links to grantees' websites. Also, an organizational profile will be included for any project grant related to an organization. Eligibility and rules. This offer is available to HDC grantees who are not already enrolled in culturalcapital.com as a participant. Grantees will establish a backlink from the sites to culturalcapital.com using a link found here at culturalcapital.com. Links must be submitted 6 weeks prior to the event. Events submitted to the site will include a credit line. Participation in culturalcapital.com is provided by HumanitiesDC. Cultural Capital will provide HumanitiesDC with a detailed page views for each of the events submitted. And at the end of the cycle, you'll provide a value statement that will be forwarded to me. The way we go about getting you started and enrolled is I communicate with Eileen Rappaport, our staff member, to provide her with the organization, the contact email, a phone number, and the grant outcome corresponding to what was proposed in the grant proposal. Cultural Capital staff will set contact information, and they will provide you with information on how you could begin to enroll and set up an account. And they'll, at the end, forward all the page views and the value statements to me at the end of your grant cycle. This pretty much concludes our grant presentation, and my information is listed on this slide. I encourage you to call me or email me for any questions that you have prior to March 1st for the submission of your grant proposal. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you.